Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. It's also Friday night, so we're just going to kick back in a different way. The Friday night show is a little bit more chill, so we'll be delving into your questions. But there is news to talk about. Of course, there's always news about Manchester United. Look, you know what? I think what we're learning about this transfer window is that it's just massively disappointing, but also massively unpredictable. I was told this morning there's no way United will go through a quick kit launch without announcing anything. They've gone through a kit launch without announcing anything. I genuinely thought we'd get done deal on Lisandro Martinez or Eriksen announced officially. We've had neither. I suppose in a positive way, it's difficult to get info out of United that's good these days. But that could be because it's changed or because there's no info to get. Like, it's not like we're not getting the info and then it hits. Like, there's nothing actually happening. But we've got updates on De Jong, Brobbey, and also we're going to start off with Lisandro Martinez. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that in the coming hours, there'll be some really big developments around Lisandro Martinez. I'm aware that Ajax, amazingly, have apparently turned down the offer that we said this morning would be agreed. I'm surprised by this. I mean, it's moving of the goalposts, I would suspect, but also I don't blame Ajax. I think there's a lot of United fans out there that are very frustrated. If you don't know what's happened today, on the morning show, we had the news that Manchester United put a €50 million package offer in for Lisandro Martinez. This was going to include add-ons, but effectively it was what Ajax had said they wanted. They're now saying that they don't want that. They're now saying that they either want €50 million straight away without add-ons, or they want more. Nobody really knows. €50 million package was what they wanted. They've changed their mind again, if that is the case. What I will say is that I fully expect this deal to happen. I do believe it's almost there. Speaking to people, reading stuff, we will get this deal done. Lisandro Martinez wants to come to Manchester United. United want Lisandro Martinez. The deal will happen. But I think Ajax are basically realising that they can probably push for a little bit more. And they can keep pushing for a little bit more. So, look, how long's a piece of string again? It seems to me, I live my life like a candle in the wind. I've always wanted to do that. It seems to me that no deal with United is straightforward. I mean, Christian Eriksen's a free transfer. He said he wanted to come to United on Monday. It's now Friday. Lisandro Martinez was meant to be on the plane for us or Arsenal. He's still training with Ajax. Frenkie de Jong is still moaning about his wages at Barcelona. You know, we are ridiculously ill-prepared for the new season at the moment. But I do believe, on a positive note, that we will get Lisandro Martinez done. We may well get done by Ajax, but I think we'll get it done. Masish, thank you very much for joining the members club, and Joshua as well. Mark, you blocked me on Twitter today for saying you said the Martinez deal would be accepted. Was only baiting, didn't intend any malice. Apologies, says James K. And Mark, don't you think if Ten Hag finishes 6th, fails to win the Europa, the board, judging by the past, might sack him? Says Shivam. James, I suppose it's the danger you risk, isn't it? If you catch me in a bad mood, I'll unblock you if you let me know what your Twitter is. Shovem, don't think... I mean, look, Erik Ten Hag could be sacked. Every Man United manager since Sir Alex Ferguson's been sacked. We didn't sack a manager for over 25 years, and then we've sacked how many in the last 10? So, of course, a manager can be sacked. But I think one of the things I did want to say at the start of the show, because I really want to get into the questions tonight. That's what a Friday night's all about. But I want to just go through the news quickly as well. I don't know whether you heard it, but Mike Verwey, who's been pretty good around Ajax, because he's an Ajax journalist, from Ten Hag being linked to us right the way through all these transfers, he actually said that Erik Ten Hag needs to be careful of his legacy with Ajax if he goes after too many players. I just want to say, Mike, you're probably right, but we've not bought any Ajax players. Bayern Munich have taken 2. We don't want 3 or 4, like 2. We would just like Anthony and Lisandro Martinez, and then we'll leave you alone. I don't think it's fair to say that Ten Hag's going to ruin his legacy if he just keeps buying Ajax players. He's bought none. I don't think 2's unreasonable on a team that he built. So, look, I don't know what's going on there. I think that, in effect, it's not our fault. It's not Ten Hag's fault. And it's not Ajax's fault. And it's not Lisandro Martinez and Antony's fault. This is Manchester United's fault. This is their transfer strategy. This is John Murtaugh's fault. This is Richard Arnold's fault. This is whoever's involved in transfers' fault. Because the player wants to come to Man United. Ten Hag wants him. Ajax would have sold him quite comfortably to us a month ago. We've just waited too bloody long. And answers on a postcard as to why. We were putting it out there that we want to get Frenkie de Jong done first. We still haven't got Frenkie de Jong done, and now we're desperately trying to get the deals. I mean, make it make sense. A month ago, United was saying we want to get this de Jong done deal first before we do anything else. A month later, we still haven't got the de Jong deal done, and we're having to go and do these deals that we should have just done a bloody month ago. I never understood why we were just so focused on de Jong, because I suppose the best way of putting it is, I know this is a foolish question, says Stephen, but could the price for Martinez possibly rise to around Maguire levels? Well, you make a good point, Stephen. I want to come back to that. Charismatic, welcome to the Members Club. Also, Ethan Johnson. And Tony Nugent says, no matter who we get, Ten Hag will be the best signing. Well, yeah, the manager's always got to be the most important signing anyway, Tony. I agree with that. And I think we're all excited about Erik Ten Hag. But riddle me this. If Man United have spent so long on Ten Hag because they really want to get a good deal, sorry, on Frenkie de Jong because they want to get a good deal, which I don't actually believe, then imagine Frenkie de Jong in a normal market is an £80 million midfielder, and we get him for 56 million plus another 14 in add-ons, which is roughly what we're going to get him for, 85 million euros. So 56 million we get de Jong for, yeah? And we all pat ourselves on the back after 2.5 months and go, yeah, told you, Murtaugh madness, told ya, we've just got de Jong for 56 million, we are the boss, rah, 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 and all this, okay. And then you say, as a fan base, well, hold on a minute, if you'd gone and got Lisandro Martinez at the start of June, you'd have got him for £35 million. Trying to negotiate with Ajax in July when they don't want to sell, you're paying £45 million. So, you've saved a bit of money on Frenkie de Jong, but you paid £10 million more for Lisandro Martinez. And God knows what more if you want Antony as well. So, all this negotiation on de Jong, we're going to lose anything we save on any deals we try to do now. So, I don't know. I would love to, I'm very interested in all this, as I know some of you are. I would love to know what United's plan was. Because you could just say, it wasn't even that deep, Mark. Basically, they're not very good at what they do, and they can only deal one deal at a time. It's nothing to do with saving money, it's just they can only deal with one deal at a time. Maybe it's as simple as that, I don't know. But there's no logic to it, and unfortunately, when there's no logic to something, it tends to go badly. And there is absolutely no doubt that United's transfer strategy this summer belongs in a kindergarten or a playground. It's absolutely childish. To just do one deal at a time when we needed to sell about 8 players and buy about 5 players, absolutely no chance. Absolutely no chance at the moment that we're going to get anywhere near 8 sales and 5 signings. Just not going to happen. And that was what we were meant to be doing this summer. So I said it before on Twitter, how would you rank this transfer window at the moment comparable to any transfer window we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson left? And for me, so far, the only transfer window that's worse than this was David Moyes, which was an absolute joke. So it's not looking good for the new United, is it? Libaid, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. And also Ian, thank you very much as well. Nice shirt, Mark, looking sharp. It's the only linen shirt I've got that's clean. It's very hot at the moment. Thank you very much, Elliot, though. I have a feeling all of this is just to save face in front of respective fan base, Barca and Ajax. They don't care about United being prepared or not, says Delicate Official. And Didi says, De Jong and Barca are baiting us, so to get Neves and Tielemans both will slide in our side perfectly, add Antony and save some pride. Barca are sneaky, says Deddy. And is Ronaldo staying? Do you think Adidas had a say in including Ronaldo for the kit promo? I'm sure United don't get kit sales and it's Adidas, says Arjun. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Ronaldo. I really want him to stay, but I was hoping to have a Ronaldo free show. But then again, we are going to do questions, so I'm sure it will come into it. I know the plan. They're going for the Holy Trinity: Blobby, Grotbags and Fireman Sam, says Nick P. And welcome to the Members Club, Ishan. So, in topical news, where we are at the moment is that Fabrizio Romano is saying that the coming hours are going to be key in relation to Lisandro Martinez. I'm very confident that this deal's going to happen. It would be really easy for me to sit here and say United are crap. They're going to mess this up. They're going to mess it up. They won't. They'll get Ajax will do a deal. That's what Ajax do. They'll do a deal. They're not a bad club. They're not arseholes at Ajax. They'll do a deal. Edwin van der Sar is still there. We'll do a deal with Ajax. We'll probably end up overpaying, which is our own fault. I don't have any bad feeling towards Ajax or Ajax fans or Ten Hag or Lisandro Martinez or United fans on this. It's very frustrating. Look at who's caused the frustration. It's United's transfer strategy. We should have done this a month ago. I understand Ajax are frustrated about that. I think the players frustrated. I think Ten Hag's frustrated. And both fan bases are frustrated. And the only people to blame for this are United's transfer strategy. But I do believe we'll get it done. I just think we'll end up overpaying. And, I think Ajax are the ones in the driving seat. But I do think it will get done. Yeah, definitely. So, Lisandro Martinez, how long's a piece of string? But I do think it will get done at some point in the near future. Ajax turned it down, waiting to see if Arsenal come back. Nothing to do with United transfer strategy, says Michel. Well, it is something to do with Manchester United's transfer strategy. I'm sorry. Of course it's... I'm going to call it out and we're going to have a debate here. Of course it's something to do with Manchester United's transfer strategy. We're in a situation where they're asking Arsenal what to do because we didn't get this deal done a month ago. Of course it's Man United. If we hadn't just focused on De Jong for so long, we could have done some other business. So of course it's our own fault. Kay, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. I'm so desperate for signings now, I'd hypocritically just want United to pay what people want. Just my own sanity, if nothing else, says Tom. Anyway, let's talk about Frenkie de Jong very, very quickly. Fabrizio's also spoken about that and said that the only way that Frenkie de Jong can stay at Barcelona is if he reduces his salary. If he doesn't reduce his salary, Barcelona have got to sell. Frenkie de Jong won't reduce his salary. So we are where we are with this. It's still all about his salary. But I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you this. You look at that midfield that we're taking on tour. Van de Beek, Garner, Fred, McTominay, Charlie Savage, Bruno. That's our midfield at the moment. You know, some people are saying, well done, Charlie Savage, for going on the tour. I think it's fantastic that we're taking him. But we have to take him because that's our midfield. Like, we have got no Paul Pogba on holiday. We've got no Matic who's carrying an injury and staying back in Manchester. That is our midfield. And it's a real wake-up call. When you look at that tour squad and you look at the midfield and you think about last season, and look, I like Donny van der Beek, but he didn't tear up trees at Everton. I like Bruno Fernandes, but he was awful at the end of the season. McTominay and Fred were awful for most of the season. All right, Fred was better under Rangnick, to be fair. But it's not good enough. That midfield is not good enough. And you win... I remember having Ince on at the start of last season, and he said, you win and lose games in the midfield. Sir Alex always said that. And it's a very obvious thing to say. That midfield is no good. It might beat Liverpool next week. They've not got a very strong squad either. I think they've left a few at home. It might beat... I don't think Darwin Núñez is on that tour, is he? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe someone can tell me. I'd be interested if Darwin Núñez is on it. But tour games don't really matter. When the Premier League season kicks off, that midfield is ill-prepared for another season in the Premier League. And it doesn't matter who you've got up front or who you've got at centre-back. That midfield is massively important in a Erik ten Hag side. And it's nowhere near prepared. And I don't think Frenkie de Jong on his own, and the reason I mention that is that I don't actually think adding Frenkie de Jong to that makes it any, it makes it better, but it's still ill-prepared, in my opinion. When the season starts, can we have a vote to choose the best player in every position of the team to get a Members Club Team of the Month, says Muzzy. Yes, we can. That's a good idea. Looking dapper as always, Mark. Just wondering if you'd ever make a Garner versus McFred head-to-head. Happy to do that. Good idea. Thank you very much, Libaid. We'll do that on the Members section next week. Murta and Fletcher are dead set on proving that this current squad is good enough. I think they were involved in assembling it and want it to be right, says Nate. And that's a really interesting observation, Nate. I almost want to applaud you on that. I've never really thought of it like that. Do you think John Murta and Richard Arnold want this squad to succeed? I tell you what, if they do, they've got no idea about football. Surely with Ajax connection, the club could be offering some of our youth players on loan to help the deals through, says Steve-O. I've said this, good idea. Any news on George Sanchez, says Liam. If you know, you know. Arjun says, it's pathetic because we have no recruitment team and just following Ten Hag, we've done no research or proper scouting. I think that's more of the truth, Arjun. I don't think Murta and Arnold think this current squad is good enough. I just think they can't get the players that Ten Hag wants yet. Hello, Mark. Not sure if you mentioned it, but Verway said that Ajax won't accept the 50 million bid. Yeah, we mentioned it at the start, Jerome. I think they will. I think we will sign him. I think we'll pay more than we want to, but I think we will get him. Michelle says, on the bright side, this gives Erik ten Hag a chance to look at the players, says Michelle. He's had 2 weeks to do that, Michelle. You're very positive, Michelle. Mark, Tottenham signing Bissouma for 35 million and no one talking about it while we would dream for a signing like that shows the problems here. Well, yeah, Mark, Spurs are getting a Premier League proven midfielder who knows how to play a pressing system and passing out from the back for 35 million, and we're going to pay more than that for an Ajax centre-back. You know, Tottenham are doing good business. Zidane Iqbal is a midfielder on tour. Do you know anything about him? Says Darren. Look, Iqbal and Savage, I think it's great they're on tour, but you know what? We should not be going into next season saying that Iqbal, Savage and Garner are our saviours. They're young kids. Young kids need to come into a team that nurtures them. They don't need to be thrown into the deep end. City midfielders, Gundogan, Phillips, Rodri, Grealish, Foden, Palmer, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva. United midfielders, Palestri, Fred, Ahmad, Van der Beek, Bruno, McTominay, Garner, Savage, Iqbal, says KMW. And what was the point of shedding Woodward for Murta and company? What's changed? Says give it to Mikey. Well, you know what? We can't actually judge this transfer window until the end of August. And we may well still keep Ronaldo, get De Jong, get Anthony, get Tielemans, get Lisandro Martinez. We may well end up doing all this, and I really, really hope that we do. But Richard Arnold spent every day of his working life at Manchester United sat next to Ed Woodward. So, you know, the jury was always out with Richard Arnold. Are you just a wish Ed Woodward? And at the moment, that's exactly what he looks like. Rashid, welcome to the Members Club. But, you know, there was a mention about Basuma there, and I do want to just come back to that. Longley's just about to buy Spurs. Longley's just about to sign for Spurs. So you know what that means? It doesn't just mean he's about to sign for Spurs. You know what that means? That means that Conte, who finished 4th in the Champions League at Spurs, not Man City or Liverpool, Spurs, a club we should be able to compete with, Spurs, Anne-Marie, welcome to the Members Club. So we should be able to compete with Spurs, yeah? Spurs already this summer have bought Perisic on a free, but, you know, Eriksen, we still haven't done that yet. Basuma, Richarlison, Longley, and there's somebody else. Who else have Spurs got? I'm sure they've got somebody else. Who else have Spurs got? Perisic, Richarlison, Basuma, Longley. I'm sure they've got 5. I'm sure they've got 5 already. I'm pretty sure they have got 5. I don't know why I can't think of the other one. Any news on Ibrahim Sangari or Conrad Lamar? We need a CDM for the love of God. No, Richard, we haven't. What was got dinner, boss? Says Pappy. I had quiche. Forster. I mean, yeah, Forster's not that big. But they are going to get Jed Spence as well, so that's 5. Spurs are buying more players than we are. So, and on top of that, they got Kulusevski and Bentancur in January. So he's had 6 players already, and he's going to have 7 since January. You know, not every club has to go out and buy 5 players. Liverpool don't, Man City don't, but Spurs have. And they're you know, Spurs are trying to catch Liverpool and Man City. We're falling behind Spurs at the moment. So, you know, it's. I'm trying to keep Ten Hag out of this. I'm trying to keep the fans out of this. This is about the board. And, you know, I'm not even mentioning the Glazers. Who knows what the Glazers have done? Maybe the Glazers are sat there going, we've given you 200 million. Why haven't you bought anybody yet? You don't know what the budget is. So you can blame the Glazers because why not? But the reality is the Manchester United board have made a right pig's ear of this transfer window so far. Hi Mark, thank you for doing the United Stand. You're a complete legend and you bring happiness to people's lives. You are one of the best content creators, says Dulham. Thank you very much. And hi Mark, today it's not my birthday. Can you call me a prat, says Nacho. You're prat, Nacho. You're a prat. It's not your birthday, or it is your birthday. Sean says, Force Foster on a free. Forster, isn't it? Yeah, I thought they'd bought 5, but they will buy 5. Mark, I can't understand why United can't offer the likes of Martial to Barcelona to speed up the De Jong deal, says Ivan. They can't afford that. They can't afford to pay Martial 250 grand a week. They did not want to do other deals, so they don't eat into the budget, and when they come back to De Jong, they would need more funds from the owners, says Kevin. Does Bergwijn going to Ajax for their record fee have anything to do with them upping their prices now, says Nick P. Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't discriminate in the transfer window. It can be Sporting Lisbon, Borussia Dortmund, Ajax, Leicester. We'll get played by anyone. The way the transfer window has gone till now, we are just waiting to get screwed this season. Maybe you were right. Things will get worse before the Glazers decide to sell and we get proper owners in and rebuild, says Druv. And considering we didn't sign anyone in January, I would have expected more movement from United. Who would be our second goalkeeper? Aaron Wan-Bissaka will prove himself, says Chidera. I don't think Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to be here next season. I'm pretty sure we're selling him. So keep an eye out on that. And also, yeah, there was a great point in there. I mean, we don't want to keep harking back to the past, but we didn't buy anybody in January because the club said that we were waiting to give the budget to the manager. I mean, you'd normally expect to spend 50 million in January. So, I mean, yeah, this summer is meant to be a combined budget of the January transfer window as well. So you make a good point. Anyway, on Frenkie de Jong, Barcelona are not, you know, Man United have got a good relationship with Barcelona, but on the other hand, Barcelona have got to look after themselves, and they are trying to get other people involved in the De Jong deal because then they can start having a bidding war. I would suspect if Chelsea did get involved in the De Jong deal, we'd have another 2 or 3 weeks of bidding, going back and forth there. So I don't think Chelsea are in for this deal. I was told that Chelsea aren't in for De Jong. They had a meeting with Barcelona, and Barcelona offered De Jong to them, but they're not there for De Jong. They're there for other things. So I think Barcelona are using Chelsea to try and, you know, basically, I think Barcelona want Man United to pay off Frenkie de Jong's wages, and we're a bit of a standstill here because De Jong wants the wages that he's owed. United want to pay the fee they've agreed with Barcelona. So think of it like this: we're ready to give 56 million to Barcelona for De Jong, and they're willing to take that. But Barcelona can't take it because they owe Frenkie de Jong about, is it 10, 15 million quid? Frenkie de Jong won't leave without that money. Barcelona don't want to pay that money because they want to use the 56 million to buy players. They don't want to spend, you know, they don't want to effectively get 40. And United don't want to pay the wages either. Why should they? So this is, I don't know how you resolve this situation. I really don't. That's why I say with De Jong, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't go step foot on United's tour. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a United player till the end of the month. It might not be till the end of August. I mean, it might not be at all. Who knows? I still remain very confident we'll sign him, but I've got no idea when we will. Would you like to see Ndidi from Leicester join, says Leroy? Well, I'd take Ndidi over nobody. I'd love a midfielder, a defensive-minded one. Shubnam, welcome to Members Club. Mustafa says the club took their time buying on because they don't have a big budget. I've done that one. Mark says, Mark, it is important to clarify the symbolism of us not even contemplating Basuma, as it was such an obvious and straightforward signing that we should have done. How clueless are the individuals in control of this club, says Mark. Well, look, we can't comment on Basuma, can we? Because we don't know what the story is. Maybe Ten Hag didn't want him or know enough about him. It seems to me that every player Ten Hag goes for, he's had a touch point with. He's either coached them or they're Dutch. So maybe he didn't know enough about Basuma. Maybe Man United recommended Basuma and he said, I don't know enough about him, I don't want him. Maybe the fact that he was on police bail at the time, Man United thought, well, with what's happening with Greenwood, we can't afford to go and take a risk like that. I mean, he's been found not guilty, hasn't he? He's been released without charge. So I don't know whether that would be a reason or not. But I don't know why we didn't go for Basuma. All I know is many of you and myself have been saying for about 18 months, every time we watch Basuma, he's massively impressive. And I think he's destined to be a major success at Spurs. I think he'd have been a major success at Arsenal. I think he'd been a major success at Liverpool. And I think he'd have been a major success at Man United. And I said when Spurs bought him, I think they're arguably making the signing of the summer. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe he will go to a bigger club with bigger expectations and he'll sink like Ndembele did and Drinkwater did at Chelsea. But I think he's a really good signing. I don't know why United didn't go for him. And I think he would have been exactly what we were looking for. Especially, I think Basuma in an Erik Ten Hag system, Basuma next to De Jong would have been on paper brilliant because they play as a midfield too. Basuma's actually quite good at going forward. He's good at pressing, but he's also good on the ball and he's very tenacious. So I think Basuma would have been very good, but for whatever reason, we decided not to go and do it. So there you go. A few people have been talking about Brian Brobbey. I just wanted to speak about him a little bit because one thing we haven't done is talk about what type of player he is. Now, I spent about an hour tonight. I'd seen little bits of him, but I wanted to do some proper research on him. So I spent about an hour going through various visual stats, watching various clips and videos. And I think I've read a lot online that people have said, oh, he just reminds them of a young Lukaku and stuff like that. And I think that's just so lazy. I actually think he may never be good enough to play in the Premier League. I'll say that. But I think that what I've seen of Brobbey is that, and I don't want to be, look, Ronaldo R9, Ronaldo 9, the Brazilian one, is one of the best strikers I've seen. he reminds me of a. I don't want to call him a Wish R9, but he reminds me of a B-Tech Poundland sort of R9. And what I mean by that is he's just very strong on the ball, and he's got good link-up play, and his finishing's not bad, and he's got a really good turn of pace. Like Lukaku's got trampoline toes. He's not like Lukaku. I think because he's strong, people think Lukaku, but actually his control and build-up play is pretty good. He's very raw. He's ridiculously raw. I mean, he's the sort of player that... I don't know whether anyone remembers Yakubu at Everton. He's more like that than Lukaku. He's actually got a good touch, and he's actually quite strong, and he can dribble with the ball. He can get a shot off. But I think at top potential, he could be, I'm not saying Ronaldo 9. That's not what I'm saying. But I do see, you can watch a player in League 2 and go, they're like Lampard. They're nowhere near as good as Lampard because they're playing in League 2, but they're like a Lampard of that league. And I look at Brobbey and I see a player that can hold up the ball. He's strong, he's quick, he can dribble, he can lay it off, he can flick, and he can shoot. No one wants him apart from Ajax and Man United. So he's not the next R9. But what I'm saying is it's very lazy to say he's like Lukaku, because Lukaku is not like that at all. And, he's an interesting player. To be honest, he's not... I suppose he's more Martial than he is Lukaku, in the sense that he actually has got a bit of a brain to hold the ball up and, link the play, make intelligent layoffs and things like that. Lukaku's a very good penalty box striker on his day, but I think Brobbey has got more strings to his bow. I think it's a very lazy comparison, actually. And the reason I'm talking about him is because not a lot of people know a lot about him, and he's very cheap, and United may well go for him. And it might be a reason that Ajax are pissed off, because apparently Ajax want to take him back. Mark, I hate to think it's come to this point, but my heart sinks. But the shame over Ronaldo wanting to go. If this happens, that should be the final straw, says Keenan. My 6-month son Leon loves listening to you, Mark. Keep up the great work, and thanks for all your videos, says Leroy. I'll try not to swear then. Hi, Mark. Do you think United might be holding some budget back while they wait to see what happens with he who can't be named, says Rob? Yeah, I think, yeah, I certainly think you'd be right on that. Ronaldo, whichever club he is at, needs to have a pre-season. His last game was on the 9th of June. Surely he can't go 2 months without playing a match, says Majek. Yeah, look, we don't know what's happening with Ronaldo at the moment, but if he doesn't get back into pre-season training soon, it doesn't matter who he goes to, he won't be playing on the opening game of the weekend. Welcome to the members club there. So yeah, thanks everyone who's getting involved. I do want to get into your questions actually now. I've got a bit of a tickly throat. Can't get over Spurs, how Spurs bought Richarlison. Ronaldo for Kante. G-Man says, Brobbey's nowhere near the quality of Lukaku and Martial. But that's not what I said. This is what I love about the community and frustrates me about the community, is that, I actually even explained it. You could go down the local park tomorrow, watch a game at an amateur level, and a player on there, you could go, he reminds me of Beckham. He reminds me of Giggs. Oh, he reminds me of Kante. They're nowhere near that level. They're playing park football. But every footballer at any level has a style of play. And Brobbey's style of striker is more like an all-rounder R9 than a Lukaku, who, as we know, isn't actually good at flicking the ball off and laying the ball off and dribbling and stuff. He can do it, but it's not by design, it's by accident a lot of the time. He normally falls over the ball in a United shirt. But look, in no way am I saying Brian Brobbey is going to be the next R9, but what I'm saying is, as a forward, he's got a lot of strings to his bow. He's also very raw. Like, I've seen him play, and you just think, I don't know whether he's good enough to play in the Bundesliga, let alone Man United in the Premier League. So, look, I just don't know. But again, we're in the hands of Erik ten Hag and what he thinks. Brain teaser, United win the league and the United stand dies, or United stand lives and United keep failing. Let's hope we both win and survive, says Elliot. Yeah, how would we know? I'd probably quit the United stand if we were going to win the league next year, but, it'd be a waste of time quitting. Ronaldo's mother is seriously ill, says Mustafa. Do we know that? I don't know. That's just somebody putting a comment out there. But I tell you what, if that was true, you know what? There's a lot of people like myself who've said there's going to be a lot of people feeling really, really stupid if something like that does come out. Because we've had a lot of people, especially on social media, saying, get out of my club, can't even be asked to turn up for training. What did I say? You've got to be very careful of falling into rumours, because you can make yourself look an absolute arsehole. I've done it plenty of times myself, where you believe a rumour and you pass comment on that rumour and then it turns out not to be true. It's not that you get ridiculed, it's what it makes you feel like as a person. What are you going to feel like as a person if you've said, get out of my club, Ronaldo, for not turning up for training, and then the reason he's not at training is because a family member's seriously ill? You're going to have a little bit of a moment where you go, I'm a bit of an arsehole, aren't I? So you should always be very careful about this sort of thing. We've been taught time and time again that the truth is not always out there until it's out there. We've had no official transfer request either. We've had no official line from Ronaldo. For me, I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what the truth is with Ronaldo. But what I do know about Ronaldo is he's one of the hardest working professionals in the game. He's 37 years of age. He can't take a day off. He can't let things slip. He can't sit at home sulking about transfers and not train for a week. Like, his body from the age of about 18 has been a temple. No, it's water, no sugar. It's complete and utter devotion to his sport and his body. And I just think it's very odd that he wouldn't be in training. And I've always felt that it's because something is going wrong at home. Thoughts on Spurs beat writers on The Athletic saying Eriksen plays in a league of his own in regards to United and Bruno is nowhere near that level, says Delicate Official. Look, I think Christian Eriksen's a really good player, and I really wish he was on the tour because that midfield looks very bare. My problem with new signings and a new manager is always this. I said this about 2 months ago. You don't want to be in a... Look, it feels like... I remember saying it, and some of you might remember it. I said, when Erik ten Hag takes his new training session, you've got to have those new signings in. Because everybody's a new signing. Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial. They're all new signings again because it's a new manager. So everybody's had a couple of weeks with Erik ten Hag now. Eriksen hasn't. Lisandro Martinez hasn't. Frenkie de Jong hasn't. Anthony hasn't. Malasia's there now, which is at least he's there now. But when these new players come in, they're new players. They're new players. Ten Hag's already had a few weeks with those players, and the new players start like newbies again. Whereas everybody could have started by like newbies if they'd have been in by last Monday. So even Eriksen's going to be treated like a newbie when he could have been there on day one. And I think that's a failing, really. And it's one that Ten Hag wouldn't have wanted to happen, so I feel for him there. Are you coming to Australia, Mark? Can't wait to see the boys play live. Was supposed to come to Manchester before COVID hit, and I've just put it off, says Chidera. Follow the United Stand on Instagram. I think we're called United Stand TV on Instagram. Adam's out there. They landed in Bangkok today. And they'll be there for the match on Tuesday in Thailand before moving to Melbourne. So, yeah, link in with them, see what they're doing. United Stand TV on Instagram. They've put some stuff up today, yeah. And we'll have some vlogs and stuff coming up daily on the channel. So looking forward to it, yeah. Unfortunately, I can't go. I've got a few things going on that I'm trying to sort out here. And obviously, we'll be doing the watch-alongs and stuff as well. In 2007, she had cancer, and I read somewhere it's back, says Mustafa. So you're speculating, really, Mustafa, which is as dangerous as saying he's skipping training. But look, the story is that there is a family member who's ill, and I think you have to believe that story in the absence of anything else. I agree that the media hasn't helped. I think they've also mentioned nobody knows when he's going to be back in training, and they know what they're doing. They're dropping the seeds in your mind to go, he's skipping training. But sometimes you've just got to be level-headed about these things and just wait. I'm in the minority, but he reminds me of Van Nistelrooy, says Ray Cowley. Brobbey. Yeah, you're not wrong. He's got that. I know what you mean. He's got that. Van Nistelrooy had this ability to get the ball, turn and run with it. He had the ability to play a little flick or a clever pass. He had a good turn of pace. I don't think their physique's the same. I think Brobbey's more upper body strength. But I see what you mean. He's got those traits. I understand what you mean. Goldberg, who is your ideal signing for the end of the window, says Danny. I've not been asked that a long time, Danny. I tell you what, I did like to see him today on the plane. They had Martial put a picture up of himself on the plane to Bangkok, and in the 2 seats behind him, it was Luke Shaw and Donny van de Beek sat next to each other. I was like, yes. Because I like those 2 players, so it's always nice when players that you like and know are good lads are sat together. Yeah. Graham R, welcome. Thank you very much for the super chat. Any more news on getting the new right back? Says Darren. All I know is what I know, and what I know is that they want Dumfries from Inter. I mean, look, at the end of the day, can I just say, even if we sold Wan-Bissaka, doesn't mean we get Dumfries. Inter Milan will probably want 50 million or something like that, so it doesn't mean we get him. But that's who we want at right back, and Inter would do a deal, and I think we can get Dumfries. So what I've known for about since May is that Ten Hag wants Dumfries. That's the right back he wants. And what I've known for a couple of weeks is that United and Wan-Bissaka are confident that they won't start the season together. So, and I say start the season. Of course, the transfer window is open till August the 31st. So look, maybe it happens then. But there's a confidence from Wan-Bissaka's camp and from United's camp that Wan-Bissaka will leave and that it's the best for both parties. I think it's a transfer. I think they've got something in the line for a transfer. I think it is a transfer, but it might be a loan. I suppose a loan's probably more predictable, but I think it's a transfer. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Mark, thoughts about McTominay or Rashford, with which one of them going to be sold first by the club? I don't think they'll ever be sold. Well, of course they will be sold, Saeed. I mean, at some point you have to sell people, but I don't think they're going to go for a long time. They're loved in the club and they've got a lot of power in the club, so I don't think either of those two are going anywhere. Darren Fletcher loves them, Murta loves them, Arnold loves them, so I don't think they're going anywhere. I just want to go back to that point there and maybe throw a few in the chat. So I remember saying this back in May, but I can't remember what I said. But my transfer window, and look, it's only the same as Erik Ten Hag. I'd still be reliant on Murta actually going and bloody getting them, and I probably still wouldn't have any of them. But my transfer would have been Anthony, and I think if we'd gone and got Anthony in late May, June, we would have got him for 50 million. I think the reason that Ajax now wants 65 is because we're trying to do it in July. So I think we would have got Anthony for 50. Whiskey Deck, thank you and welcome to Members Club. I think we would have got Anthony for 50. I would have gone and got... I mean, look, I can't say Timber because clearly he backed out of the deal. That was what Ten Hag wanted. So Anthony for 50, Lissandro Martinez for 35. Again, if we'd done that in early June, we would have got it for that. So 85 on Anthony and Lissandro Martinez. I would have gone for a Tillemans for 30. So that takes it up to 115. I would have gone for Lema for 20. That takes it up for 135. So I've got 2 midfielders, Anthony, Lissandro Martinez, and I've spent 135. And, you know, at that point, you know, you can still get Malacia, takes it up to 150. And Dumfries takes it up to 175. And Ericsson, you know, 7 players there for about 175 million. So my summer, and I've changed it a little bit now, but I would have gone Anthony, Lissandro Martinez, Tillemans, Lemar, Malacia, Dumfries, Ericsson. 7 players, 175 million. And I would have made 50 from sales as well. But that's what I would have done. You would have done something very different. And on top of that, Erik Ten Hag wants Frenkie de Jong. And we've got to respect that. We've just got to bloody do it as well. Mark, a week ago, we were thinking of only getting 3 or 4 transfers in. Now, from what I've read today, it could be 5 or 6, possibly even 7. What's changed also is Anthony no longer possible this window, says Oz. Well, I don't know where you're getting that from, Oz. I don't know where you're getting it from that we're going to get 7 transfers. I mean, at the moment, I would be surprised if we got 2. I still think there's a possibility that we get 4 or 5, but I still don't trust Man United's budget. But in relation to Anthony, I'm confident we'll sign Anthony. The problem is Ajax. Anthony will respect Ajax if you have to stay for another year, but Anthony wants to come to Manchester United, and Erik Ten Hag wants Anthony, and that's why it should happen. The reason Anthony wants to leave Ajax is because he wants to come to Manchester United. But the reason he wants to get out of Ajax now is because Ajax are just about to start another rebuild. You know, most of that team from last season is gone. The manager is gone. he doesn't want to really do another rebuild at Ajax because he may as well go and do a rebuild at Man United. So he wants to go. It's the time to go. It's the right time to go. I think Ajax at one point this summer agreed it was the right time to go. But because we've been slow doing the deal, they've started planning with Antony for next year. So who knows what will happen. I'm still 80% sure the deal will happen. But, you know, it's on whether United can do that deal. I know Antony wants to come and I know Ten Hag wants it to happen. We need to sell players, yet all we do is loans, says Ray. That's because they're on silly wages and nobody will buy them. United is becoming the Hotel California of football. You can check out any time you like, but you never leave, says Stephen Ross. I agree. We are like that. You know, there's still no buyer for Bailly. There's still no buyer for Phil Jones. There's still no buyer for Brandon Williams. There's still no buyer for Axel Twansebi. We can't sell Martial whether we want to or not. And, you know, the Martial situation's really interesting. I did a video about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was called The End of Anthony Martial. And the comments on that are really interesting when you read now. Because in that video I said, I think the ideal solution is Ten Hag has a word with Martial and says, look, you can go in a year, treat this year at United like a loan, give me everything you've got, and in a year's time, if you want to go, you'll be able to go because there'll be a queue of clubs looking for you. But there's no queue of clubs looking for you now. We're not loaning you out because we're not paying 250 grand to someone else. Give me a year. And a lot of people are like, no, sell him, get rid of him, had enough of him, get rid of him. 4 weeks later, people are like, yeah, let's give him a chance. So the reality is, whether you want to give Martial a chance like I do or you don't, we have to because we can't sell him. Nobody wants to buy him. So this is why we don't sell players. We are Hotel California because you check in and you never leave because the wages we pay are so prohibitive for anybody who wants to buy the player. Now, if I was the manager or the chairman or the CEO of a club like Aston Villa or Everton or Southampton, I would take Anthony Martial tomorrow on my own opinion because I know there's a player there. But I can't justify giving United 30 million and then paying him 250 grand a week. I just can't do it at a club like that. So he becomes trapped. Would you ever do a United matchday vlog, or do you think you'd be heckled? Says Vela. I have been to United games before, and people talk about being beat up and scared and everything like that. Look, maybe it would happen, but I have been to games before, and I've been and stood outside Old Trafford before, and I've had people approach me before and say stupid things before. I'm not bothered about that. You know, at the end of the day, there's evil everywhere. There's idiots everywhere. That's not an issue, and I will go and do it. If people want me to go and do a vlog, I'll go and do it. I'm not bothered by stuff like that. I think it's very sad how divided our fan base is. But no, I don't have a problem with anyone. I'm happy to go and do that. I've done it before. I used to go and stand out. There's videos of me standing outside Hotel Football doing it. So got no problem with it. The greatest will join Chelsea and will win trophies, and United will still struggle to get going. Next season, United will get eliminated from the Europa, says Aman. Thanks, Aman. Thanks for ruining the weekend. Chat's crying. Been following Leipzig for 3 years now, and Brobbey is somewhat that we don't think has massive potential. Definitely young, but risky signing. I think that's a fair assessment, Scythe. I do. Sean, thank you for the super chat. I mean, look, all I'd say about Brobbey, and I'm being kind here, is very raw. But again, you've got to trust your manager. And look, I've had conversations with people who are publicly saying, yeah, we've got to give Erik Ten Hag a chance in the media, but privately they're expecting him to fail. There are people who expect him to fail. There are people that would have much, much, much preferred Pochettino. And they want him to succeed, but he's not their choice. And they're not massively impressed with what United did. So the knives will be sharpened if he gets things wrong. And how do you get things wrong? You buy Harry Maguire for 80 million. You buy Aaron Wan-Bissaka for 50 million. You start parking the bus and hitting on the brake and relying on moments. These are how you go wrong. And if Erik Ten Hag does buy 2 or 3 players from his past that are nowhere near up to it, they'll start calling him another Frank de Boer, who failed massively at Palace. So he's got a lot of pressure on him, Ericsson. There's so many bloody names, I get mixed up. He's got a lot of pressure on him, Ten Hag. I really want him to succeed. I really wanted him. But I'm also very. Look, I think you've got to be protective of a new manager or a new signing when they first come in because you've got no evidence of them being bad. But I am very protective of Ten Hag in the transfer window because he's been massively let down. I remember feeling very bad for Moyes. I never wanted Moyes. But I remember that summer with Moyes, we were linked to Bale, Toni Kroos, Fabregas, and I was like, oh, these are good signings. You know, Ferguson's gone and we're going for good signings. We didn't get any of them. And I did start to feel sorry for Moyes very quickly because he ended up going back. You know, there's a warning with Moyes, actually. There is a warning with Moyes because we were looking at Bale, Kroos. I mean, Toni Kroos will tell you the story. Certainly Fabregas. I might be mixing up my summers a little bit, but we were looking at players that were like quite good players under David Moyes. What did he end up doing? Going back to Everton and spending a lot of money on Fellaini. Are there lessons to be learnt there for United? You know, we've come into this summer and everybody we've recommended, Ten Hag's gone what? And now he's having to go back to Ajax to get players. Now, look, in fairness, he wanted Timber, he wanted Anthony, but you can't moan at Ten Hag for going for what he knows when United are offering up stuff he doesn't want. And it all comes down to good scouting and it all comes down to a good transfer window. Strategy. As we as a community focus on transfers, who do you find are the most credible writer news organisations who should pay attention to, says Billy. Well, I'm a little bit biased, Billy, but we've been pretty well briefed on the United stand this summer, and I know people don't like that, but look, I do a show at 8 o'clock on Talk Sport every Sunday. I'm back on Sunday. I had 4 different journalists on last week. Alex Crook, Marcel van der Kraan was on, a couple of others as well. We've had Fabrizio Arano on the show for years. Rob Dawson's been on, Mark Ogden's been on. You know, we've got pretty good links into a lot of different information, and this summer's been pretty eye-opening compared to previous summers. But I you know what, I think David Ornstein's very good. I think Fabrizio Romano's fantastic, and I know, but you're only as good as I think in the transfer market, you're only as good as now. You're only as good as your last story, really. And the bigger you get, the more pressure you get. And it must be horrible for people like Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein because they're so, everyone hangs on their every word and they can't afford to get anything wrong. I'll always call people out. I don't really care. Look, there are some really bad people out there. I'm not going to call them out. But there are people who, you know, Duncan Castle's got the Ronaldo thing right last week. James Robson's got some really good stuff right that we've heard, and I don't speak to him. So I'm like, well, he's getting good stuff. Rob Dawson's been pretty good at times this summer. Even Neil Custis has been right on stuff. So I think there's a wide range of people that, you know, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right. And I think sometimes I think in the transfer window you've just got to be open-minded. And what we've learned this summer is anything can happen. Arsenal thought they were going to get Rafinha, then it was Chelsea, now it's Barcelona. We were told that Ajax would accept 50 million euros. They've moved the goalposts. So things are changing, and that's a lesson about the transfer window. Things can be absolutely nailed on, and then they don't. I mean, what was Fabrizio Romano? I think he said deal done, Lyon, Malacia, and it changed at the very last minute. That's not his fault. It was going to be going to Lyon, and then right at the last minute. D, welcome to the Members Club. It's the future, and United have already ruined the whole season and transfer window. I want Ronaldo to go to win championships rather than struggling for top 4, says Aman. Which one of the youth players do you think will progress through the pre-season the most and possibly get some first-team playing time, says Ethan. Well, I think with Erik Ten Hag, who for me is beyond criticism and should be beyond criticism, now is not the time to get pissed off with Ten Hag. Now is the time to back Ten Hag. I think the playing squad of United, especially the players who played last year, you don't get a second chance. You've got to bloody earn it. Brunos of this world have got to earn it. But the youth players, for me, are like Ten Hag. They are refreshing, positive, and deserve patience and enthusiasm from us. So the Charlie Savages, the Zidane Iqbals, the James Garners, the Anthony Alangas, these players, Sheratir is not going, is he? But Mabry, Garnacho, these are players that, you know, really, they shouldn't have any pressure. They really shouldn't have any pressure. They should just be players that we see what happens with them. They play without pressure. They play without fear. And we back them. And I think that sometimes doesn't happen. I've seen it happen with Chong a couple of years ago. I saw it happen with Alanga last year, where people make their minds up about young players and maybe they won't be good enough. They can't all make it. But I do think that we've just got to let them blossom under Ten Hag and see what happens. They're certainly not players that are tainted by last season and the failures there. So let's just wait and see what happens with them. I'm interested. I think Garner's the one to keep the eye on the most because he's obviously had a very good loan at Nottingham Forest and they got promoted. So he's probably the closest to being ready. I remember saying about Garner when we had Greenwood and saying I wouldn't be surprised if both of them ended up making it at United, but I guess we'll have to just wait and see. Fawn says it's looking like a 5-year rebuild at the most. Look, I think we will learn over the next few weeks how long that rebuild could take until we see how Erik ten Hag plays with Manchester United. We've seen how he plays with Ajax. We've seen him beat really good teams with Ajax. We've seen him defy the odds with Ajax. We've seen him as an underdog with Ajax, beat people like Real Madrid and Juventus and smash Dortmund up. And in a way, we've got a manager that's used to being the underdog and defying the odds. And I think we're going to have to be that. We're not going to turn a switch and be Man City. If we even on the journey to winning the title, we're going to be, whenever we do win the title, if it does take 3 or 4 years, along that journey, we're going to be playing Man City and Liverpool as underdogs. So I think we've got the right manager who knows how to perform as an underdog, and what's really going to dictate things is how long it takes for him, or whether he can get this team to play the way he got them playing at Ajax, and that's the exciting thing for me. And until we see that, and I mean, look, we could play our first game of the season or our first game against Liverpool, which is our third game, and play brilliant football, and we go, you know what, this is going to happen. Give him a few more players, and this is going to happen in the next couple of years. We could watch us play against Liverpool at Old Trafford in the third game, get absolutely slaughtered, and go, this is going to be a long rebuild. We don't know until we start playing, really. I really don't know. I don't know. It's hard to predict. Sean says, I'm going to see Barcelona play here in the US on the 30th of July. Really excited to see them play in person. Will be livid if I see Frenkie there. One thing we don't know, Sean, and I've not heard anybody announce it, is we don't know when Barcelona are back in training. Because I think when Frenkie de Jong goes back into training, that becomes a very interesting point, doesn't it? Yeah. Did Barca think we wanted Luke de Jong, says Krish, and we aren't winning the title because we are hamstrung by the owners who don't give a damn, says Mindstorm. I mean, look, it's Friday night. I'm sure a lot of you are kicking back, maybe having a drink, a takeaway, watching a film, going for a walk, you know, whatever you're doing. It's a different vibe on a Friday night unless you're working. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat there. But you know what? Sometimes it's nice to dream, and I suppose the dream is this. If we had owners like Man City or Chelsea have had and got now, or even Aston Villa, who do go and back their manager, or even what Spurs are doing now with Conte, if we had that, I think we'd all be a lot more optimistic. And the sad thing about Man United is our revenue streams are huge. Absolutely huge. We've got bigger revenue streams than most sporting clubs in the world, not just in football. And if we had if we just had an owner or owners or a consortium or whatever, that sole focus was on Man United winning the Premier League and the Champions League every year, we wouldn't win the Premier League and the Champions League every year, but we'd be a completely different summer transfer window every year, and we'd have a completely different standard at the club every year. One of the things that United fans always say is, why is such and such still at the club? And I'm not just talking about players, I'm talking about coaches, I'm talking about directors of football, I'm talking about CEOs, social media, the lot. One of the big questions outsiders ask about Man United is, why are they still at the club? Why are they still employed by the club when they've been there for numerous failures? And it all goes back to the same thing. There is no appetite from the top of that club to actually win the league or the Champions League. So we will not remove people because the appetite isn't there. The appetite is just to do enough to make the money they want. And that is 4th place. That's basically it. So you can always judge a club by its infrastructure. And if you look at Chelsea, Petr Cech's gone. Their director of football, I can't remember her name, she's gone. The manager changes quite regularly when they fail. Look at Man United. We do change the manager because we use the manager as the fall guy. I mean, God, look at how they basically blamed Ranić for the last 9 years. He wasn't even here 9 months. But everything else around the manager tends to stay the same. The board structure, You know, it's all the same. And that's because there is no genuine appetite for us to win the league. There is no genuine appetite for us to win the Champions League. Because I tell you what, if you were in charge, if you were the Glazers and you were in charge tomorrow, you would sack Richard Arnold, you would sack the director of football, you would sack a lot of the board, you would sack a lot of the coaches, and you would build it and get the best people that you can get. That might not be fair on some of those people, but you'd be able to justify it by going, this ain't the summer I wanted. Last summer wasn't the summer I wanted. The summer before wasn't the summer I wanted. And you lot have all been here for 6, 7, 8 years. So you're all gone. I'm replacing you with the best I can get. And we're gonna do this properly. But United will never do that because it's about maintaining the cash flow. And the best way to maintain the cash flow is to maintain the mates rates. And what I mean by that is Richard Arnold and co, they know. They've been doing it for years. Their job really is to make money for the Glazers. If you sack Richard Arnold and you bring someone else in, can you trust them to make money for you like Arnold has for the last few years? Or Ed Woodward did? This is why the Glazers won't change the structure of Man United, because they've got people in there who know the job. And the job is to make them money whilst also trying to be competitive as a football club. But the bottom line is the dividends. Every year, those dividends have got to come out. Now, if you brought a CEO in that, like an Edwin van der Sar, who wants Ajax to be the best they can be, and he comes in and wants Man United to be the best they can be, and the Glazers say, we want our dividends, and he goes, well, I don't think you should have dividends, you're sacked, get Richard Arnold back. So, look, we can do this on a Friday night at the end of the show, but some people think you change the manager, you sign a few players, and everything changes. There's so many people at Man United who've been there for years and years and part of the failure, and they'll remain there for years and years, because when you've got a scam going, you don't change your team of scammers. And the Glazers are not going to change their trusted allies who know how to work and make their money. And that's why we would love to have a glimpse of a structure in that football club that is focused, like Man City, like Liverpool, like Chelsea, on actually winning the league. That's not our focus. It's thrown out there as a focus, but it isn't a focus. Anyway, a lot of people are off to watch Love Island. I'm going to go and jump in a jacuzzi and have a drink. Longlay's 5th Spurs deal. I think following Ten Hag wish list without a club strategy is the real problem, says Mohammed. As it was with the other manager, says RL, a long time ago. We dream the same dream. We want the same thing. Ten Hag is the man we believe in, says RL. He's going to have to work a miracle, but we're all going to be behind him, aren't we? Let's hope he can do it. Thanks everyone for watching. As I say, every night we will go live later if something amazing happens, but I don't think we're expecting it. So enjoy your Friday night, day, evening, whatever you're doing. We'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Don't forget, if you're a member, please watch the Lissandro Martinez comparison with Maguire, Varane and Lindelof. I think you'll find it very interesting. And hopefully, over this weekend, we will actually get this Lissandro Martinez deal done, which I think we will. We'll probably just have to pay a little bit more. Thanks for watching. Take care. Really appreciate all your support. Really enjoy the Friday night show. It's a little bit different, isn't it? And I'll speak to you.